Welcome to Out is Through, a podcast about living a meaningful life in difficult times. I'm Larry, and I'm a life coach and licensed marriage and family therapist. In these uncertain times, maintaining a sense of well-being and purpose feels more challenging, yet more important than ever. In this podcast, I'll feature guests who have used their life experience, passion, and creativity to find personal meaning and deeper connection. As the saying goes, the only way out is through. And I hope these conversations help inspire you to live life to its fullest. So thanks for tuning in and enjoy the episode. Hi, and welcome to Out is Through, Living a Meaningful Life in Difficult Times. My name is Larry, and I'm your host. And what an episode we have planned today with our guest, Jose Aleman. Jose is a therapist turned coach with over 20 years of experience helping adults and couples thrive. Based in San Francisco and Oakland, he has transitioned from traditional therapy to coaching, blending mental health expertise with a fresh approach to personal growth. As the creator of Loving Your Awkward Self, an empowering online platform, Jose offers confidence-boosting content tailored to queer, first-generation, and BIPOC individuals while welcoming all. Passionate about authenticity and safe spaces, Jose is dedicated to helping people embrace their true selves and grow. You can find more about Jose on his Instagram page, Coaching with Jose, as well as his website, coachingwithjose.com. Now, before we get started, I just want to share with my audience that there's some terms we're going to use in this podcast that you might not be familiar with. And I wanted to create in this podcast a space where people can learn free of shame and get new information. So I'm aware people might be listening, maybe even in other parts of the world, and I want to make sure my audience has some understanding of some of the terms that we're going to use today. One of the terms you're going to hear us use today is BIPOC. And BIPOC stands for Black and Indigenous People of Color. Another term you're going to hear is queer. And queer is a term that's been reclaimed by people who identify as LGBT+, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender folks. It's a term that we'll use in today's discussion, but it's important to remember that not all LGBT people identify as queer, and it can be complicated when it's used by people outside the LGBT community. This is a long, complicated, and controversial issue that we don't have time to address today, but perhaps I can in a future podcast. I'll also provide some informational links in the episode description box so you can learn more about these terms on your own. So with that said, let's start the episode. I want to welcome Jose Aleman to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into the conversation, and I'm just going to launch us into it. The first question I want to ask is something I'm asking everyone, which is just, how are you doing in these times?
That's a big question. Ups and downs, I would say, trying to figure out how to stay engaged or how to stay aware without being over consumed by the craziness of the nation and the administration and all that's happening. It's a great opportunity to kind of practice some of the things that I tell people in my coaching or therapy practice of how much to be engaged and how much to stay locally aware and focus on your aspect of your life and what you can do, your community, what are the things that you can actively do, what are the things that you need to let go of, what are the things you cannot control, talking to people, processing my fears, my emotions, and just kind of giving myself space sometimes and just distracting with bullshit and not necessarily paying attention to the news cycle. A little bit of everything, a little bit of all that, just to try to stay on top of the water,
Yeah, thank you for that answer, because I think it just sort of says a lot about how difficult this is. I think, full disclosure, Jose and I know each other from a previous job, and we're both therapists, and it's hard. It's hard to put what we know into practice, and I feel like a lot of people are definitely struggling with that. Well, maybe we can just start this conversation. Tell me about your life story. Where did it start, and how did your journey to become who you are and also a coach slash therapist, where did that tell me about how that began?
So I was born in Nicaragua, but I came to the U.S. My family brought me when I was 2 years old, and I say that because it matters in terms of the way I grew up. I had to find my people once I grew older because being dark skinned in America, you don't get treated like you're American, but I feel American because I was raised here since I was two. And then when I go to Nicaragua, they tell me I'm American because I'm not Nicaraguense, and they can tell that I'm different. And so then for a long time, I was like, damn, who are my people? Like, where do I belong? I'm not Nicaraguense, but I'm not fully American. Like, who are my people? And so it just took me a long time to recognize that, like, oh, I need to find other bicultural folks that also have this lived experience of being connected to country of origin, family, and kind of growing up in the US and just kind of that mixture of that collectivist and individualistic societies. So that was one thing, figuring that out. And then, adding on being gay and then having to figure out, like, oh, okay, so it's not just that. I also have to find queer bicultural people. And so just the complexities of all that led me to shut down in my teenage years, kind of led me to like isolate and not feel as open. And, given also just family trauma and poverty and immigration and all that other stuff, life was hard. Life was hard growing up. And a lot of good stuff, like my family's there, and good stuff, bad stuff in between. But I became a really good listener. I just became someone who was super silent, but observed a lot. And people kind of got used to like coming to me and listening to me or asking me questions. And then I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And so then I got into psychology in college. Truth be told, I wanted to become a doctor when I first got to Berkeley. And then I took physics and biology, and those classes kicked my ass. And I was like, okay, so not that. But psychology, then I started taking, I was like, oh, I really like this. And I took self-psychology and Buddhism psychology, and it kind of helped me. So then I went into counseling, and I liked it, became a therapist, went to grad school. I liked it. One of my strengths, I would say, is that I have really good vision at times of what I want for myself. And so I knew I wanted to become a private practice therapist, and so I worked towards that. I'm not really someone that needs things to happen right away, so I give myself time for things to get created. And so in 2017, I went full-time private practice, and it's been great. I've been successful at that in the Bay Area, in San Francisco and Oakland. But then once I achieved that, I was like, wait, what's my next vision? Like, what am I going to do after becoming this? Because I didn't see myself just doing private practice for the rest of my life either. And then I had like 10 years ago, I told my husband, I was like, I want to do these videos, and I want to kind of like post things, and I want to help people because like therapy is expensive, and I just want to give information and provide things that we talked about in therapy. And I would get caught up in perfectionism, and I bought backgrounds, and I bought lighting, and I bought this and that, and I just never did it until like a year ago. I finally got connected with someone through Annie Schuessler. I went through Annie Schuessler's Create Your Program, CYP program. That really helped me iron down what I wanted to kind of create after private practice or beyond private practice. She then introduced me to this woman named Mariah, who has this company called Towards a Better World, and she does my editing. So I connected with her, and so then I do my videos, I send them to her, she posts them, edits them, and now I'm starting to do my videos, and I'm starting to do coaching. And it's kind of cool. Like I told my husband, I was like, oh man, I don't care if this goes anywhere. It's just the fact that I wanted to do this for 12 years, and I'm finally doing it as like success for me.
Wow. There's so much there. I mean, I resonate with a lot of parts of your story. One thing I think about is how, as brown people living in America, how we are constantly kind of in these liminal spaces of feeling like some of the needs are met, but not all of the needs being met. And we both worked at an agency at a time when I think the therapy culture was very different, and there were a lot of white clinicians, and the brown and black clinicians found each other, but there weren't a lot of us. And so the other part I'm resonating with, and I think kind of echoes why I'm doing this podcast, is that for those of us who grew up in family systems or cultures that were much more interconnected and less about individualism, it makes this work really hard. And I mean, part of me doing this podcast is so I can reach people on a greater level because I get a lot of joy from that. And I read that in your videos and all that you do with loving your awkward self. What was different about coaching for you? What needs did you get met? Because you're a great therapist, people love you, your clients love you, but what was different about your journey that led you to coaching that might lead a little bit more to your own fulfillment?
Pros and cons. Coaching doesn't have a lot of regulation, and so you can reach a wide range of folks as a coach compared to as a therapist. That as a therapist, I'm limited off of my licensing and on the state that I'm licensed, and so I can provide therapy to people in California. As a coach, I can provide coaching to nationwide, worldwide, and that's very attractive, the non-limiting aspects of that. The other aspect I would say in terms of the videos, and I would say this is less about coaching but more maybe about doing the videos, is one, providing information that is accessible and free because therapy can be expensive and there is an economic barrier I would say at times to like getting a good therapist because we want to make a living and so we charge a certain rate and certain people can pay that, certain people that might need it can't. And so I found that to do the videos and do coaching allows me to provide information that I would readily provide in therapy. But two, really, the more selfish reason and the more self-healing reason is it allows me to be just visible. And I will always say that because I think I promote visibility and acceptance of self. And I think for me to do these videos and just put myself out there, again, it's a desire that I've had. I was scared to do so. It took me 12 years to finally do so. But to finally be doing it, I'm just like honoring the little boy that wants to be seen. I'm just honoring myself that just wants to kind of play and do videos. And so it's just me really. It's for others, but really it's for me too.
Yes, I'm totally feeling what you're saying that as therapists, we obviously play a certain role. I think in standard Western psychology, we are considered like blank slates. I think that's sort of an outdated belief, but I think that's what our field is built on. And as queer people, as brown people, that lack of visibility from even seeing ourselves, let alone others seeing us, is so part of our story. And there is something like, I mean, I am. Most people who know me know I'm a performer. I love performance. And there is something about therapy that you just no one knows what you do except your clients, and it's its own wonderful thing, but it doesn't maybe for us in our identities allow us to maybe flourish in our full selves the way that I see you doing in your videos. I mean, you're putting on nail polish,
Yeah.
but you're also using your skill set like boundaries, which is something I think we all need to learn. It's also something I know in my culture that like people are like, what are boundaries? What is that?
Right.
and but and so I think that that's something that I think is relevant that not everybody gets to learn about. And then I loved your post-election emotional hole video where you really kind of like went into this place of, yeah, how do you deal with this reaction and how do you not let yourself spin out of control, which is so easy to do. If you can talk about loving your awkward self, how that came to be and how others have received it.
Loving Awkward Self is the title of the social media page on Instagram. I was thinking about what's a like synthesized way to express what this whole thing is about. And acceptance and self-love, I would say, is kind of like the gist of it. In the sense of like, I think a lot of us, and I know I did this, we try to conform, right? Especially in teenage years, socialness is kind of primary, and you want to fit in. People want to fit in. And I just felt like I had so many things that made me not fit in, being gay and being a person of color, being a comic book lover, being skinny, and being not strong as a boy and not into sports. Like there's so many things I'm like, oh my God, I'm not jiving in the way that I need to be jiving. And so all the things that I felt that made me awkward, all the things that made me different, all the things that made me feel like weird, I would try to hide and I would try to contort and not show as much, like my femininity or the way I cry in movies or any desires that were outside of traditional masculine and what is thought to be only in the straight world. And then I was like, no, f that. Like, I love all these aspects of me. Like, I am awkward, or I can be at times. I can be quirky. I can be off. I can be strange, and I'm tired of hiding those aspects. And so I force myself, but I just push myself to like just be you more naturally. And so it goes hand in hand. The videos are to encourage people to love all aspects of themselves, to love all their awkward parts, and love your awkward self because it's you, and it's a very lovely part of you. And it helps me just continue to be visible and work on my visibility, like my nail polish video. I do like the strokes of nail polish, and I've never done that before. And just it allows me to play and have fun and do something that is for others. But like, I don't know. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of people that do videos say this, and it's so true. And the introvertedness of me behind a camera, there's something wild where I can be a little bit sillier because I'm not in front of someone, even though it's going to be released out there to the world to see. But in my room when I'm recording it, I feel like private or it feels safe. And so I allow myself to be a little bit more expansive in a way that in a therapy room or in other spaces, it might not be as possible.
Yeah, it makes me think of, I don't know if you're familiar with Christian de la Huerta's book coming out spiritually. He has one, and then there's one that I'm reading right now called Gay Men and the New Way Forward. I think in the books they both are working on reframing what our ideas are as queer men around our gifts that society has tried to take away from us, how to reclaim that. And then one thing that I'm just because I'm now 50, like I'm thinking about middle age, and they really speak to that group of queer men that we suffer when we're young, we come out, we get in a partnership. Sometimes that is about living a more heteronormative lifestyle, sometimes not. And their book, I find it just mind blowing because they are very much in the line of no, you have there's another phase of coming out, which is coming out spiritually and really living the essence and the potential of your queer self. And I just love that. And I love how you're already doing that because it's really about changing the narrative of who we are and that these are actually gifts. These are superpowers. We encompass the masculine and the feminine. And that is just such a wonderful, like we can teach. We can teach the world how to be better.
Yes, I definitely agree with all of that. Like, those books sound amazing. I really appreciate the coming out spiritually aspect, right? Like, what does it mean to like energetically, spiritually be more authentic and come out, not just like your identity, your sexual identity, and telling people I'm attracted to someone of this gender or sex, but like truly living your life in an authentic kind of full way with both that masculinity and femininity and everything in between or outside of that.
I am so enjoying geeking out on queer power. We're going to take a little break and we'll resume our interview with Jose Aleman.
Hey everybody, today I want to talk about being queer and coming from an immigrant family, particularly around safety and being free. A lot of the times, an immigrant family will instill in us that the family is the only place that one can be free, that one can feel safe, and that the family is the main protective space that we should lean into, and that's where we can be our true self and we can feel safe. Unfortunately, as a queer person, that may not be the place, right? Like, where I feel safe and where I feel free may not be in my family cluster. If my family has very limited exposure to queerness, I want to just honor that reality, honor the messaging that we get, and for being queer folks, how it doesn't truly fit. And so honor the fact that that's a true dilemma, and to allow yourself to then be different, like let yourself be different in that cluster. And so then the third thing is it's not mutually exclusive. You are different but connected, right? Like we are different in our queerness and still very connected to my family. So find ways to honor how you can be queer and different and still be connected. You get to decide what that ratio is. You get to decide how often. You get to decide to play in that. Not your family, not other people. You get to decide. But you live in two worlds. It's up to you. You get to decide.
That was the voice of Jose Aleman in one of his videos for Loving Your Awkward Self. And let's get back to the interview. In looking through your page, it really seems like authenticity is a value that you really drive home. Can you say more about that?
One of the strengths I would say my parents taught me is to believe in myself. And so I appreciate that, right? Like, they're like, there's nothing you cannot learn, there's nothing you cannot do if you just put your mind to it. And authenticity became an honesty. Authenticity and honesty to me are my two biggest values. I try to be as honest as I can. I try not to lie. And I try to be real with my reactions, my emotions, and what I like and what I don't like. Doesn't mean that I'm successful all the time. It doesn't mean that I don't lie. But again, I think that we're never going to be 100% one thing all the time. It's just more our intentionality. What are we leaning towards? It's just easier for me to navigate life in that way. It's just easier for me to be honest as much as I can, even though there might be repercussions that I don't particularly like. To remember my life, to remember what I've said, like that energy was exhausting. Lying to my mom about when I was even 18, like I'm gonna go see friends, but really I was on a date with this guy to go see a movie. And then she's like, how was your friend? And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh wait, I gotta remember these lies. I'm like, no, I'm tired of that. And so it just makes it easier to live. I don't have to hold those lies. I can just be authentic. I can just be honest. And therefore, it frees up some mental and emotional energy, I would say. And I think it improves relationships because the people that don't like me, then they get to not like me and they get to get away from me. And the people that do like me will like me for who I am and my authenticity. So to me, authenticity allows me to have the relationships that I'm supposed to have. And even though there is a part of me that still fears people leaving me, and there's a part of me, that a young boy that fears people not liking me, there is an adult part of me that is much more aligned with like, listen, little one, folks cannot like you and we need to let them not like us and it's okay. You know, like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I hear you saying a little bit is that we have had to, for many of us, we have had to lie out of survival. And sometimes we hold on to those survival skills when we don't need them anymore. And what
Right.
you're really doing is helping people develop a new skill set that maybe they haven't really been able to access, or they have felt like in that survival mode, or to be honest, maybe they're still in that survival mode, but then there are tools on how to navigate that. So maybe it's a more intentional decision rather than an automatic reflex.
Exactly. And the main thing I think I want people to understand is that it's going to come with discomfort, right? Like when you take steps towards visibility, when you take steps towards authenticity, it's not like it's going to be like some parade where you're going to walk into the sunshine light and be like, oh my God, I have arrived. No, like there's going to be parts of you screaming like, no, this is dangerous. People are going to judge us. People are going to hate us. And those parts of you are going to be active. And it's just a matter of highlighting your North Star of, I want this. And even though part of me is screaming, I'm still going to move toward what I want.
Yeah, yeah. How has your audience responded to Loving Your Awkward Self, and in particular, your queer BIPOC audience?
I would say that it's a work in progress for me in that my first few videos, getting kind of used to like doing videos, putting myself out there. Some of the content in the beginning is still generalized or just kind of generic. It applies to, I would say, a big portion of the population. I think a lot of my videos can be applied and beneficial to many folks. But lately, and I would say there's a mixture in the 45, 48 that I've currently done, where it does speak specifically more towards like queer, BIPOC, first-gen experiences. And when I do those kind of videos, like the queer hiding reflex, or unbreaking the queer hiding reflex on my nail polish, people respond very well. It's hard for me when people like or respond well, because there, that part of me that doesn't like to be visible cringes, but the other part of me comes alive, and I feel nourished, and people let me know that they feel seen and that it's profound for them, and they're like, oh my god, this touched me, and that's super rewarding for people to kind of feel seen. And I'm getting a lot of black and brown men kind of following me and interested, and that's what I want.
Yeah, and so important to reach those audiences because, again, we don't know if we'll see them on the therapy couch because it takes a lot for people to get there, right? Not just financially, but the vulnerability, which we have been conditioned to just like not be.
To hide, to put away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just work, provide, and do and produce.
Well, Jose, because this podcast is about living a fulfilled life, how has your work, and that could be both the therapy work, but the coaching work and the podcast, how has that given you a sense of meaning, belonging, and connection with others?
In therapy, I tend to ask myself, like, why is this person in front of me? And so it's not just me helping the person, but I kind of think, like, okay, how come you're in front of me? What am I supposed to learn from you? I feel like I'm really good at working with a wide range of people, but there are certain sects of people that I completely jive with, right? Again, men, cis men, queer, BIPOC, first gen with immigrant parents. And that's when I do feel alive. That's when I do feel really connected because they see me, I see myself in them, and there's a camaraderie when we can talk about some of those same pain points. And so there is a way that I feel like I am self healing in letting them feel heard or seen, and then I feel heard and seen. But the main way I would say that I have felt connected and belong is actually outside of those things. It's hard to find gay friends as an adult. But then I joined a gay softball league in San Francisco, and that was life changing. I allowed myself to be athletic in a way that I never thought I was, and I am. And then I met other gay men that are also into softball. I met certain gay men that were into comic books like I was, comic book movies like I was, video games like I was. And so it allowed me to really find my niche and the people that I was supposed to connect with. And I feel like going into softball and taking that chance has been one of the greatest ways that I have felt belonging or connection with people.
That's so wonderful. You found that, and that we almost have to take that risk of getting outside of our comfort zones and not getting in the way of ourselves to connect. And I think it's almost like it gets worse before it gets better, I guess is the saying that it kind of hurt. Like I know that when I have found myself pushing myself, it feels so uncomfortable. And I think anything around sports, because I think a lot of gay men have trauma around our bodies and our sports.
Right.
But then there's just something wonderful about how you push through, and it was actually the thing you needed the most. But you needed to get over that like wall.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, what advice do you have for listeners who may have ideas about pursuing a passion project, but who might be stuck in their creative process?
Keep a journal or keep a file folder where you can have all the ideas, where you can continuously think and imagine and fantasize and create. Because that step matters. You don't always have to be producing, but keep giving it energy. Don't put it away in some back mental door where you're like, oh, I wish I could do that, but too bad. If it's not available to you right now, just know that if you keep giving it energy, if you keep watering it, if you keep talking to people about it, if you keep telling people that I'm interested in doing this, you're moving more and more towards it. That's just more around like idea to creation. There's a long road that can happen. And I'd like to repeat that. Like I had the idea for 12 years and then creation just happened last year. But I kept thinking about it. I kept talking to people about it. Clarity matters. A vision matters. And so if you can spend some time just like, don't worry about how others will receive it. Don't put it in the realm of out there yet. Keep it in the realm of within you first. And stay within you. And like, what is it that I want to get out of this? What is it that I see? As if it were in a chamber. Block yourself from thinking about introducing it into the world quite yet. Because once you do that, then all the judgments and all the fears will arise. But safeguard it and just imagine and fantasize and create in your own safety first, and you will get clarity. And then just trust that and write that down. because it might get shaken up when you introduce it into the world, when you think about putting it out into the world. But that thing that you create when you have it just for yourself is very true and very powerful.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think we oftentimes our inner critic takes hold, and especially in social media, I think so many of us use our creativity, including myself, so I'm guilty of this, but we we want to nurture it and we're so excited to get it out in the world, and then we look for that dopamine rush on social media, and maybe it didn't quite get the rush that we wanted, and that could be because of the algorithms that has nothing to do with it, but then we get crushed by that lack of instant gratification. And so what I'm hearing from you is really just to anchor yourself and not rush, really build a relationship with the very thing that you want to put out there in the world.
Exactly. Have clarity as to why you're doing it for yourself. And to your point about like rush or not rush, I think it's so important that people need to remember like things take about 3 to 5 years to kind of blossom. Everyone that has made it in social media that I follow, that I see, that has like, I don't know, 300 followers, 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, they have posts that like, I started this 5 years ago, I started this 4 years ago, and now look at me, or I didn't know what it could be. And that's real though. I know that now I have 700 followers. When I started last year, I had 30 or 20. If I'm just consistent, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, 3 years, 5 years, maybe max, I'm telling myself 7 years, it will take off. Consistency matters, trusting the process, it just takes time. But shit will happen if you just are consistent with it. It's like working out. If you work out 3 times a week, even if you don't have to lift a lot hard, if you work out consistently in 3 years, your body will change. It's the same thing.
I like that. It's funny because I think about how, I made my film Searching for Kapwa, and that took 7 years. Like 3 presidential terms. I have gotten gray hair. Like I had a full head of black hair when I started it, and now you can see the gray. But but yes, I think these things take a long time, and you just, I think, really staying focused, because it is very easy to get stimulated and to want that instant gratification. Thinking about loving your awkward self, it's created a space that allowing it to grow over time. You have a good library of videos to draw from with themes that you could do bigger talks on. Like the topics are endless, but the good news is you have all these building blocks, and the people that see your videos have these building blocks to move forward. And if they're interested in one other area, maybe they do a little more work in that.
And the thing that I'm trying to build towards, not necessarily trying to build towards, but I do have another offering that in the next month or two, like I want to run a 7 week small coaching group specifically for queer BIPOC men around being more confident, or like around like stepping up into your confidence. And so the whole purpose of that small coaching group is 7 weeks, and people will walk away with an understanding, a blueprint of who they are when they are confident. How do they hold themselves? How do they speak? What is their tone? What is their mental status? Because confidence is something that can be invoked, and your confident self is something that you can activate. And so when I'm insecure, I can remember, like, oh, that's right. When I'm confident, I stand up straighter. I talk perhaps with this voice, like a little deeper, versus like this voice when I'm like a little nervous and I talk this way. And if I can remember those things before I walk into a meeting, I can invoke my confident self. And so that's something that I'm going to be also launching, which is that small coaching group for queer BIPOC men.
Ah, that's so exciting. Keep us updated on the details, and we'll try to put it out there so people can receive more of your offerings. I have one more question for you before we wrap up, and this one's a fun one. But I want you to imagine that you were stuck on a deserted island in the middle of nowhere, and you only have 3 albums to bring with you that you're going to listen to for the remainder of your life. What 3 albums come to mind for you? Which ones would you bring with you?
The first one that pops into my head is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Great one.
I love the variety, right? Like it has so many different genres. She's amazing in all of the songs. The next one is Mariah Carey's Number
Oh,
Ones, because
I do
she's
love
my
my
diva.
Mariah.
I love her. She's my girl. And then I don't remember the name of the album, but Selena, um, the one that posthumously came out that has like Bidi Bidi Bam Bam, Como la Flor. I forget the name of that album, but
I
that
could
one,
see it. I could
Selena.
see the thumbnail
The
with the
cover, yeah,
picture in the
yeah, yeah.
corner and kind of beige. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly that one. Um, that one has a mixture because I was like, oh, I want something with Spanish songs, but like I was thinking like, oh, I don't know if I can listen to like a full album in Spanish for the rest of my life. I love Frankie Ruiz and all of those guys and La India. But Selena has Spanish songs, English songs. I love the whole album. I love her voice. It has ballads. It has cumbia. So yes, it's a little bit of both in that regard.
Ah, great ones, and I think I have all three of those somewhere in the house, so I'll have to look for them. As we wrap up, Jose, is there anything that you would like to say that you haven't had a chance to say, or
I mostly just want to say thank you for having me. And it's so exciting to kind of see us both kind of progress. And I met you as a therapist and a nonprofit, and now to kind of be a guest on your podcast, to see the things that you're doing. I love it. I want to celebrate it. For you to reach out to me, for us to do this together. Like, I just want to say it's lovely to progress with you in all these years and to kind of re meet up in this way. And I look forward to the next meetup, and I look forward to seeing, our next adventures. And it's been really cool.
thank you, thank you, and I feel the same way. I think the last time I saw you, we were both building our practices in San Francisco, and it's great to be in a profession with other healers where you are healing, but you're also getting some healing back. And
Exactly.
well, I appreciate again you coming on the podcast and sharing your gifts with my audience. Thank you, Jose, and I will continue to love my awkward self.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
What a great conversation, and what a gift that Jose brings to the world. I take away his vulnerability, his authenticity, and his ability, and sometimes his journey to live in accordance with his values. I think that that can be very difficult and brave, and I just appreciate him sharing his wisdom with all of us. And it makes me want to lean into my own queer power, my own awkward self. And yeah, I just feel really grateful that we had that conversation. Okay, so before we wrap up, there is one correction I wanted to make. So I quoted two books. One is Coming Out Spiritually by Kristen de la Huerta. The second book, Gay Men and the New Way Forward, was actually written by Raymond Rigoglioso. So I wanted to make sure that you have those references. It'll also be in the description box. So that is all for now. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. And I hope you lean into your wonderful, awkward selves. And until next time. The views expressed by the speakers are their own, and their appearance on the podcast does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Out is Through is a podcast for entertainment and educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are in need of support, please seek out a licensed mental health professional in your area.